Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit this week in Wizards of the Coast Stupid with myself and Call your bartender in the OSR. As always, on Wednesday nights, my once a week spouse,
Work spouse.
Mike,
Work spouse.
Work spouse. Yes,
Work
work
spouse.
spouse. I got to keep that in mind. By the way,
Come on.
21
Yeah.
as we kick this off. Thank you, folks, for having such faith in us. And because of this, because of the topic, because Joe himself was Johnny on the spot, we were like, we got to bring Joe Bloch on because, listen, if anybody can talk about how stupid WotC is, let's bring somebody in who, when 5e was first being discussed, I don't know, was on the short list. So,
well, first of all, so I had an idea because I didn't know about this online conference. I'd heard about it barely until Joe referenced it and had some links, and so then I went there, and then I linked Eric, and we were both just like, "Huh, what?" and so we figured it was only right to have Joe on the show too, since he basically revealed this to us. But we were supposed to have a guest on the show tonight, so it worked out good. We've had guests. This is like our first unguest show for what, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
We still have a guest. So it's not like we don't have a guest.
Well, I mean, we have Joe, yeah. But I'm just saying,
I'm not a guest. I'm like family.
We had a scheduled
So here's
guest.
the thing. So Joe is playing the role to some extent of Alex Macris. Okay?
Yes.
So, but Alex will be on Friday with myself and Glenn.
Oh,
So-
well, I'll tune in for that.
So there you go. What you're getting is more better. Like you're getting more guests.
You're getting Alex plus Joe, yeah.
You're getting Alex plus Joe. Come on. What more do you? And you're getting WotC Stupid. Okay. I mean, listen. I know how stupid WotC is. And by the way, not going to name people, but there is one scumbag, and I use that term precisely. There is one scumbag out there that thinks that somehow Wizards of the Coast is funding me. Wizards of the Coast is paying me. All right. If Wizards of the Coast is that much of a dumb motherfucker, all right, to pay me for this coverage, well, they have more problems than we already talked about.
How do I get in on that?
Yeah, about to say, come on, man.
Yeah,
spread the word, spread the cash around here. Yeah.
Please. By the way, folks, we mentioned the drinking game. We haven't figured the rules out yet, but I've got Buffalo Trace. Geez, this is a fucking good whiskey, and
I'm going to season my drink here pretty liberally because I feel like we're going to get after it tonight. So
yeah, we gotta be ready. Oh,
hopefully I won't finish the bottle tonight. I hope.
Oh,
all the hospital, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was about to say, Mike. Wait, you're not in a warehouse, so you can actually go directly to bed as opposed to.
I just have to. There's a sofa right there. I could just crawl over there and pass out. So tonight's show is really about. There's basically what they call a D&D Creator Summit this weekend. I
wasn't invited, by the way, just so you understand.
And you and Joe have not created enough, I guess, unfortunately.
But here's the thing: the Creator Summit is not for creators of gaming content.
Not actual content. These are influencers, streamers, YouTubers.
Yes.
Now, I did look at the list, and I found 2, maybe 3 people that actually had published stuff. So I'm not going to say there was no creators there. There's 2 or 3 people that had drive-through credits. And I also won't say these aren't all shills because I know that Jenny D was there, and she's absolutely not a WotC shill.
She's the one. She's the one who caused the exodus.
Yeah,
from their website.
There was a couple. There was 2 or 3 people that I would not consider shills. But basically, this is here's a bunch of swag. Oh, and here's a free trip for the ones who got the trip. Some people are just doing it digitally online.
Right.
And we're gonna throw all this stuff out here, and we want to present to you what we have coming in the next year or so. And it was interesting to say the least because Beth Rimmels of InWorld transcripted the conversations, and thank you very much, Beth. I don't know you, but we appreciate your hard work because it gave us so much entertainment value. And so we were able to see what was said in questions, and so it was enlightening. That's all I can say. So some of the questions, some of the answers, some of the discussions. I don't know who wants to take this first. It's almost overwhelming.
Joe, you're the guest.
Yes.
Okay. You just want my overall impression of this train?
Let's start off with overall impressions, and then we'll all start picking at our favorite scabs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't seem to me like they knew what they wanted this to be, right? So it was obviously they're trying to paper over the catastrophe about the OGL.
Right.
But what was this? Were they there to roll out the new VTT? Were they there to get information and feedback from the creators that they invited? Was this really supposed to be a back and forth, or were they just going to be doing a presentation of things they want? They didn't seem to know what this was, and I think that explains why the people who were there were kind of like caught unawares and got angry that they weren't covering the things they wanted to cover because they didn't make it clear. Why are we here? I don't know. It just happened.
But those that asked questions often got either non-answers. By the way, just to throw my point out, my favorite non-answer was when they were talking about the need for healthcare, where somehow, some way, Wizards of the Coast is supposed to provide mental health counseling for their shills who are getting negative feedback because they're shilling for a company that stepped in shit and mooned you at the same time. They're getting pushback, right? Because they're being the I'm having a mental block, Mike. Who's the jackass that we were just talking about that Joe pretty much blocked it.
Garibay. Yeah.
They're complaining because they're acting like a bunch of Garabays, right? Because and people are going, stop it. Fuck you. Don't just give us dare I say it, stroke job. And I probably fuck it. We're going to be monetized. But there's no way we're going to survive this whole.
No, this is going to be the F words are going to
and they get upset, and it's like, why aren't you defending us? It's not their job to defend it. You're a bunch of not even freelancers. You're a bunch of I will work for free shit. Send me the next tchotchke, send me the next book, and then I'll shill it. And I'm getting people that are getting mad at me. This is, and I said this before yesterday. Oh, I thought I said it before. This is what happens when we give out participation trophies, when everybody has this fucking safe space. The moment you get pushback, you freak out, and it's somebody else's responsibility. No. So now, here, I'm going to do a public service that WotC should have done. I'm going to do it right now. If anything that the three of us say fucking offends you, there is a link down below at the CDC. It's for mental health tools and resources. These are free resources. Get off your lazy ass, go to the phone or go to the website and take care of yourself. All right?
So
responsibility.
Look. So with someone, so you were referring to the fact that they said a lot of times when somebody asks questions, I don't know. I appreciate that answer. I'd rather have that answer than blow smoke up my ass. If you don't know something, tell me I don't know. My issue is if you invite people to a summit and they're going to ask, what questions they're going to ask, you should do better than say, I don't know. You should have answers to their questions instead of just saying, I don't know. What's the point of having a creator summit, if your answers are going to be, I don't know? Now, like I said, if you really don't know the answer, I understand. Don't make up something to make me happy. But you should have known the answer to some of these questions, especially the VTT stuff. The VTT stuff it's going to be their whole model. How can you not know more about VTT stuff?
That's what I was talking about. They didn't. If it was supposed to be a rollout of the VTT, they should have had people from the tech team there. I am an IT project manager. There's no freaking way you would do a rollout like this and not have some developers there to answer questions or BAs or something.
Let's start with that because
technical questions like, do you need to have an Alienware computer to play?
Yes.
I don't know.
So let's start with this, because the Creator Summit that we were all kind of focused on was the VTT and One D&D Summit, and that's the one that got the most interesting questions anyway. So they come in and they're talking about the VTT. People were asking questions about the VTT, and I thought their answers were vague. And like Joe said, they didn't have anybody professional there to actually answer anything. And they were just kind of like, I don't know, might work with your computer. I mean, I don't know. And there was one question I thought was really significant. Somebody said, look, there are already companies that do this, but not just D&D. They do it with Call Cthulhu and Savage Worlds or whatever. What are you offering that those companies aren't offering? And they said, well, we're creators of D&D, so we can do it better. That doesn't tell me dog doo-doo. Well, that's the dumb answer ever. Don't tell me why you're better. I want to know why you're better. I don't want to hear, well, because we're the guys that write this stuff. We're going to be better. No, you're not, because if I want to play Call of Cthulhu, I can't use it.
But Mike, part of that, one of their answers to something like that was, can I use it with other systems, other games? Mm-hmm. Well, you're like you're the DM, so you can use it with whatever you want. But the animations are specific. Listen, I'm going to guarantee you, 90% of the gamers don't give a fuck about your animations. All right, it's just there to make you different, but it's not going to make you better.
And it's not going to be that different for that long, because the other VTTs are going to do the same thing.
Oh, they were going to work on it because that's what the OGL was supposed to say they can't do. You can't do animations. What about my fucking dice animations in Fantasy Grounds that have been around for over a decade? Because WotC tried to steal it back in 4E. What about those? Come on.
My favorite thing about the VTT, though, was there was this image. I don't have it handy, but they had this. They put up this slide with an image of a bunch of people sitting around a table in a room, all of them staring at a laptop in front of them.
Oh, that was from the video.
And to their minds, that's a social interaction. Is being in the same room, not talking to each other and staring at a freaking.
I mean, is that what cons are going to be then? If you're playing the new D&D, you go to the con and you walk in the con room and there's a bunch of people staring at the computer screen. That's the whole not a purpose. That's the opposite of what a convention is. A convention is a social gathering of people. It's not 8 people staring at their laptops at a table.
And you know how I can tell that they haven't gone to conventions in a long time? Because they don't know what the wireless is like at a convention.
Oh my god!
Like, can you imagine if everybody at a con had to log into this and was sapping all the Wi-Fi? Can you imagine what that would be like? I'm a vendor. I can't run a credit card.
And you can't run the PayPal machine. Yeah, I know exactly.
How am I going to run high-end graphics? And folks, by the way, I'm going to grab a $3,000 Alienware laptop so I can bring it to a convention. Now, some people are going to go, well, that was just to show you these people using it. No, if you were going to show me these people using it, it should have been cameras set up watching people in their home, right? In their bedroom, in their living room, wherever the desk is, as they're interacting with this, not 4 or 5 people sitting at a fucking table together where they could literally swap spit, but they're playing on laptops.
But and when they asked him, can you play this on a lesser machine? The guy's answer was, "Do you want that?"
Yes. Wait. You don't. Not everybody doesn't have these. I mean, Wizards of the Coast supplied us these laptops. I mean, they're not going to supply it to you.
Well, the first question when they said, "Is there going to be public testing of this?" So their answer was, currently any person at Hasbro, D&D, or their friends is where the playtesting for the VTT is now. Yeah. Next, they'll open it up to a few influencers. Later, that will be a sign up. They're still figuring that part out right now.
What? They did say it's a pre-alpha, so I'll give them, the limited playtest because it's a pre-alpha.
How about playtest people that know what playtesting stuff on the VTT is? Not me and my mom and my buddy over here, my friends. You need to have people who can actually offer constructive criticism on what's good and what's bad about the VTT. And influencers probably aren't going to do that either, because a lot of influencers are shills, and they're going to say, "Oh, I loved it. It was great. It was wonderful.
I love the animation.
I need some free
books. Magic missile was magic. It sparkled, and then it went kaboom, and it was great. And then they had little texture damage, which fades away after 2 seconds, and it shows nothing. But it's just so exciting to be part of this experience. And WotC, can you please send me my next, I
need some swag.
To
my next swag bag. So that was real, and I think that I mean, that's the theme kind of tonight. If you go through this, it was very. I don't really understand what they were doing. It seemed like they did, and I'm going to give them. I'll give them one prop here, just starting out. Is that for the first time in I don't know how many years, it seems like maybe they actually care what people think, because for the last few years, they have not been going to conventions. They have not asked anybody what they care about or what they want or what they do. And this whole debacle with the OGL, maybe it finally got them saying, oh, maybe we don't know what we're doing.
We don't have our finger on the pulse.
They only care because they lost thousands of subscriptions to their thing. That is the only reason, and they want to try to get these people back.
Well, that's my one prop to them, is at least they do realize they really effed up, and they need to try to relate people. But it's like Robot Man trying to react to humans. Like, he doesn't really know how to react or how to relate to humans. They don't really know what to do.
The question
is, when they kind of get this weird interaction.
When they do roll out their VTT, how long do you think it'll be before Roll20 and the other VTTs lose their license to play? I'm saying 6 months, because they want to soften the blow a little.
Well, here's the thing too. Now, listen, folks. I had predicted early on when we heard about the new version of D&D coming out that one of the things that WotC was going to do was either buy out D&D, the D&D DMs Guild, and take it themselves.
Oh, that's happening.
Or make their own. Well, guess what? They just announced a D&D Beyond is going to have its own marketplace.
Exactly.
Wow. Holy shit. What a fucking surprise. Because they want the money, right? People, when I brought it up, people are like, oh, no, the DMs. Now, who owns the DMs Guild? It's a joint venture with
One Bookshelf.
And One Bookshelf. But who is One Bookshelf? They're Roll20.
Yeah. No, well,
They're one and the same. So, right now, who is the biggest competitor in the VTT marketplace that WotC has to put their fist down? Well, that would have to be Roll20. Do you really think that when all this stuff rolls out, that you're gonna have the DMs Guild is going to be the primary play? If it still exists, which I sincerely doubt, but if it still exists over at One Bookshelf, it's only because there's a contract that requires it to be in existence until a certain time. Right. And then once that contract is done, it is done. But the money is going to be, as WotC has said, they want to empower the market, right? No, they want to empower their own profits. That's what all this stuff has been about. They're corporate. We know that. There's no secret to that. This is all about making money. The problem with the OGL is that they actually played their hands thinking that people weren't paying attention. Like, I'm going to point that. Jason, it seems to me like they weren't taking the people they brought in seriously and thought they'd all be bought off by the free script and money and would suddenly be back on the D&D hype train.
Yeah, it was like they were taken by surprise by some of the VTT questions. Like, it was almost like, oh, these guys, influencers, aren't going to ask us anything hard about the VTT. And they started asking hard questions like, hey, is this going to work with third-party stuff? And they're like, you can do whatever you
want it to do, because you're the DM.
You're the DM. I guess you can do whatever you like. I don't know. And it's just like they got caught by surprise and people weren't throwing softballs.
Yeah, So if you can do whatever you want to do, does that mean I'm going to be able to have like 1920s Call of Cthulhu investigator icons on my thing? Is there going to be docs of Arkham and Boston as
well, they said the DM can do anything they want, but that's the biggest non-answer throwback. I mean, toss out. I don't know.
Can I install my own patch? Okay.
Here's going to be an interesting thing when it comes to their VTT. and I can already tell you where this is going to go. Are third parties going to be able to upload and sell 3D terrain and creatures? And I'm going to guess the answer is yes, because WotC doesn't want to pay all the programmers, and WotC is going to do what they're doing over at the DMs Guild, but they're going to get the full 50%. So you sell it for $1, they're getting 50 cents on the dollar for doing nothing. Okay, that is the secret to this, by the way, folks. WotC needs to figure out the best way to make money for doing nothing. All right, and they've been doing nothing for a long time. It's just that they've been putting out shitty products. Everybody talks about how shitty the products have been in the last couple of years, how they've been, I guess, essentially phoning it in. But this reboot, and by the way, talking about the reboot. It's no longer 1 D&D, folks, just so you understand. It's no longer 1 D&D. It's not even D&D 5.5 or 6. It is 5E revised.
And I think they chose that specifically so that they can, because that's evergreen. You can use that name forever.
Yep.
And there's no, they can make incremental changes for the next 10 years and require you to be on that hamster wheel, be on that treadmill. You got to pay your whatever it is every month, so you get the latest updates because who wants to be playing the an older version of the revised game.
Right, your digital books gotten through D&D Beyond, and they, again, not to toot Tenkar's own horn, but I was saying this also since they announced the new edition, that they weren't going to kill the golden goose, that they weren't going to change the rules as much as change the fluff. All right, they're going to change things. They're going to take out half orcs, half elves, let's just take out halflings, because anything's
halflings. I had to kill my cat, wait, I fed her. Never mind, I fed her. But I was going to kill her.
You would have
killed her around like a lunatic.
Like, Daddy, feed me.
Yeah.
But I mean, this stuff is. They want. That's also a reason why they're pushing this digital. Like, oh, you can use a character. You can use a PC created with the 2014 rules or 2024 rules, but you can't run the game with your 2014 DM's guide, right? Because it's going to be compatible, but not 100%. They want you to run the book.
So let's take first edition, second edition D&D. Those are pretty much compatible. I mean, I grew up on first edition, then we started playing second edition when it came out. We mixed and matched a lot. To this day, I still play 2E. We mix 1E in there. It's very mixable. Now, can you play a first edition bard with second edition?
Nope.
It's not the same thing. I mean, can you play a second edition bard with first edition? I mean, you can do it, but it's a squeeze. You got to squeeze it in there.
It isn't a round peg in a round hole. Right. It's a round peg in an oblong hole, and you got to pound it in a bit.
The first edition part is a poor example, because that's a special class. You got to be a fighter, then a thief, then that's a setup.
Right.
But can you play a first edition magic user with a second edition magic user? Yes, you can.
The same thing, yeah. Priests, fighters. I mean, for the most part, there's a few little things different, but for the most part, you can squeeze them in there. Certainly, the specialty classes, once you start getting to specialty priests and stuff, then you have to do a little work. So maybe that what I took is maybe that's what they mean, is that you can use the rule book, you could use the first edition rule book with the second edition rules, but the DM's going to have to decide what he's going to allow and not allow. And I think that's what a lot of people were mad about, is that you're supposed to tell us what the rules are, not that you can use every rule there is. Yay, it's all going to be whatever you want. I mean, if you want to use it, because if I'm a DM and let's say they substantially change, I don't know, the fighter character. And I don't know why they would make it weaker. It seems like they would make things more powerful, but let's say they make something weaker. Well, if I'm rolling into that game session, I'm saying, oh no, I'm playing the 2014 version. I'm not going to play your new version. Your new version sucks. I'm playing what's the DM supposed to do? WotC just said that's all okay. Yeah, bring in all the old stuff, whatever. Just do whatever you like.
I want to play a half elf. Well, you can only play a half elf if you still have the physical books from 2014. Because the books in 2024, half elves are going to be verboten.
Half everything.
And that's a whole other issue.
Well, no, you can have a half human, half elf. You can have a character who has the elf lineage and the human lineage, or one that has the orc lineage and the human lineage. You just can't call it that because that's racist.
You have to choose what you are. What are you? You need to choose what you are. You can't be a half elf, son. Are you elf or are you human? I don't know yet. No, you got to choose. I mean, it's
in the same way you can be a half lizard man, half halfling, that's what these lineages are about. Is you're able to just kind of pick and choose, the bits that you like, and you can have literally anything can be connected with anything.
And what I thought was interesting, if you look at the forums afterwards, people were talking about what they'd said there. There was a quite a few people, which I thought was really interesting, that said, "Look, I'm of mixed race, and what I love about D&D is the characters I liked were the mixed race characters because that reflected me." And isn't that what WotC has been saying for the last few years? Is we want diversity, we want to reflect what you are. Well, these people are coming in and saying, "Look, I'm mixed race. I love the characters of the mixed race because that makes me feel, these people, like one guy brought up the example of Tanis half-elven. He was half-elf and he didn't fit into either culture. I grew up that way. That's how I felt. I didn't fit into either cultures I was part of. And now you're telling people like, no, you can't do that anymore. We're I mean, that's good. That's a great story, but we don't really want to do that
because their solution to to questions of race is just erase it entirely. It's like the logos. You remember a couple of years ago they started erasing corporate logos all over the place, like Land O'Lakes lost the Indian and stuff. It's the answer is we're going to erase you completely. You can't see movies that have problematic stuff, even though they were breakthrough for the actors of color at the time. I mean, it's insanity. Their answer to problems is we'll just erase it and the problem goes away. It's like you can't see a poo is no longer in The Simpsons,
right?
So yeah, so because some people of Indian descent had an issue with it, the answer is we're just not going to have an Indian character at all.
But
that's brilliant. That's progress.
But Joe, here's my observation. Usually the loudest voices for this aren't the people that you would perceive to be offended by it. It is, right. And if your name is Karen, forgive me, but it's the Karens of the world that step up and they feel that it is their call, the call of the wild, to let you know what you're doing is offensive to another group that they're not part of. And I'll be honest with you, if somebody who is part of that offended group tells me, yes, I'm very offended by this, I'll take that seriously. And we're three white guys. When another white guy tells me that they can speak for another group that they're not a part of, I don't put too much weight on that. That's just me. I put my weight on people from those groups in question. So a lot of this is Wizards of the Coast, dare I say it, signaling. They're trying to get ahead of the signal, actually. They're like, oh, before it becomes a real issue. It's like, thank God we don't have any race or social group in this game called Redskins or Indians, because
they have orcs who are obviously a stand-in for black people. So I mean, they had that, right? So
yeah, no,
they solved that problem. That problem's solved.
And they've never been a stand-in. I've never seen that in any of the groups that I've ever.
Makes no sense, but it's solved now. It's solved now.
Yeah, well, but you gotta, and again, it's the same people that, hey, let's add slavery to the historical reference of a fictional race that never had it before because it sounds cool. And it's like, oh shit, we fucked that up. And by the way, they are adding oh God, what are they called? Cultural validators or whatever. Not just to the written word. Now they're going to add it to all the artworks that you have to get reviewed by somebody.
Oh boy.
To make sure that it doesn't offend anybody. Culture. So
they had that problem with that monkey race from Spelljammer,
right?
The
one race, which was given this flavor background.
Yeah, they had
Wizards of the Coast, by the way, not by the original creators back in the TSR days. No, when Wizards of the Coast came in, they added that because they said, "Oh, this sounds cool," And then when they got nailed on it in 2022, they went, well, yeah, that was the original guys.
Yeah, they tried to throw Steve Winter under the bus, and he didn't have any of that. He came out and said, "Hey, that was not me, by the way. Here's my description, and here's what I wrote, and this was added afterwards." Now he didn't call anybody out, but I mean, come on. I mean, he provided the evidence that, hey, it wasn't me. So sorry. So
they did the same thing with the Vistani and Ravenloft, you know, the gypsy folk. And I guarantee you, if they decided to bring back Greyhawk, they would do the same thing to the Renehi, the barge folk.
Sure. Anything that might be possibly offensive to somebody who doesn't actually play the game.
Right. And the answer is get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we might offend, and as an aside, by the way, they would probably get more mileage and more free advertising out of offending a group than they are going to get from, like, all you're going to do is offend or anger your own base.
Just like they did for paying you for doing this show tonight.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, folks.
Yes.
The amount of money that WotC puts into my pocket is so amazing. I can't even count it. Literally. Wow. Cannot count it.
I just want to see the swag. I mean, what's the swag? You got some T-shirts there? I mean, you got triple X there?
You know what? The last swag I ever got from WotC, the only swag I ever got from WotC was the Tomb of Horrors map at Game Hall or Gen Con, like, I don't know, 2017, 2018. Of course, Mike has it sitting right next to him. What the fuck?
I can't tell you why I had that sitting in the box next to me, but I did. I didn't, and this was not rehearsed, folks. I have a box of many things here. So
okay, apparently so. It's endless.
Yes. You were talking about you were talking about the one that unfolded, right? The map one, the big map one. Now, that was cool. The cloth one. I've got one of those.
That swag, is really cool. Folks, that swag has kept me as a WotC shill for never. For never. It was cool, and I got it at a convention, and it meant I got some swag at a convention. No, I don't have one of those. So, and here's the thing: the actual shills were offended by WotC. And that if you bring somebody out to Seattle to give a free hotel room and food and I don't know, probably pay their bar tab for 2 hours so you can get them liquored up the night before, so they'll be in really good shape to do raw by you, and they tell you you're full of shit.
So let's go. So going back to the actual conference. So when they had the question and answer after the VTT, it immediately veered off into a left turn, and the WotC people were not ready for it, and I didn't think they didn't think it was going to happen, but they had a question about, well, basically it started out, people were saying, hey, people have been really mean to us online lately. And it's because of you guys, because you're putting, you're doing this OGL stuff. What are you going to do for us? And they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. We're sorry about that, whatever. And then it just got more, then the whole conversation just veered off into that. And somebody finally asked, look, we need some mental health resources because we're working long hours. This is horrible. We've had death threats, all this stuff. And I mean, I don't know what's worse, the fact that people actually think that you're as not even a freelancer. Yeah. It's just somebody who
as a shill.
You're going to get free mental health, or that WotC had no answers whatsoever. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
The best answer, Mike, was, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That was the best answer they gave, because
they also, when they started stonewalling about substantive stuff, the questions started to get back into the OGL fiasco. They started to want to get details about what's going on with that. Have you what's changed? Who was responsible? And they were like, we
don't know. We don't know who wrote any of those memos. Nobody wrote them.
Yeah, the participants started to get revolting there for a while.
Well, that's what happens. I mean,
just like that Disney investors meeting the other day. Jesus.
Well, when you don't give people answers, and I learned this as a sergeant in NYPD, dealing with my own staff. You're better off giving them the truth, even if it fucking hurts, than to go, and if you literally don't know, I got news for you.
But see,
you better have an answer anyway. You better come close, because you probably
right. Because I'm sitting there going, okay, they probably didn't think it was going to take that left turn. But isn't that their job? Is to figure out, okay, where can this go? And we might have to know about this or that, because it seems like they were totally taken off guard by the, hey, we're getting abused and this is we're being treated bad, and they just didn't have any answers to that. They're just like, well, yeah, we'll try to do something. Maybe we don't really know. Sorry, And what they should have said was, look, you guys don't work for us, but I mean, we can help you with free stuff. I mean, there's free stuff. There's a thing called Google. It's on the internet. You can go look up stuff, but you don't work for us, and we shouldn't. Here's my issue with influencers wanting stuff like that, because they're assuming that the reason people are hating on them or abusing them is because they're shills for WotC. But it could be any number of reasons. It doesn't have to be because they're shills for WotC. They could just be miserable human beings. Hey, puppy. I mean, I don't know what their feeds are like. Maybe they're getting beat on for something totally different. I mean, so why should WotC be responsible for that when maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with WotC? Maybe your personality just sucks, and the way you answer your fans, they don't like it. So why is WotC responsible for the fact people don't like you? I mean, the part of being an influencer, and some of the influencers I look at, like Jenny D, they talk about this a lot. People are just mean to them. They're just mean to you. I mean, she doesn't do anything offensive. I don't think she does anything offensive. She just does her little shtick or whatever, and people.
I like her videos. I'm about as opposite of her aesthetic as you can get.
All right. But by the way, I want to clear something up, because I'm sure somebody out there has a misconception. Nobody here is forced at gunpoint to appear on your computer screen, on your phone, on your TV, wherever you're watching us. None of us are forced to be here. We all here willingly, without compensation. Holy shit. How fucking weird is that? So if it gets to the point where my quiet space, my safe zone, my participation trophy wall gets jeopardized, and I can't handle the stress, I can step away, right? Because
you probably should. If it's affecting your mental health, look, there's a lot of other things you could be doing with your life that aren't going to affect your mental health. If it's gotten that bad, and you are, first of all, if you're getting death threats, call the police. WotC shouldn't be responsible for that. But if you feel like your mental health is being damaged by doing that, do something else. I mean, go watch Ant-Man and then do a review on Ant-Man. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to do WotC related bullshit. I mean, you can do whatever you like.
Right. Hey, I'm gonna pull up a comment from Lensman. And by the way, folks, I'm going through all your comments. You're not, the vast majority aren't getting, we're putting them up on the screen. I understand most of them are not getting spoken about. Listen, they got a lot of shit to get through. And when I say shit, I'm saying shit. But Lensman, Bad Mike, why is Wizards of the Coast responsible? They threw the creators under the bus and called them liars while knowing the truth. Again, none of these creators, influencers, shills, all right? They're not paid by WotC. They get free shit from WotC, and they do this willingly. All right? They do this so they can get an invite to this conference, physically or digitally. That's what drives them. Do you think anybody on your screen here gives a flying fuck what Wizards of the Coast thinks about us?
Obviously not.
All right. We now, if you ask us, do we want to be viewed positively by the hobby at large and the OSR in particular? Of course. Do we want an IP like Dungeons and Dragons to be successful? Of course, because it means a lot to me, because it's where I started my gaming history at. However, Wizards of the Coast, it's like if you are a creator, an influencer, and Wizards of the Coast wronged you, say fuck you and move on. You don't stay in an abusive relationship because, well, he beats me, but he also takes me to good lunch, and I really like it.
Look, I'm not simping for Jenny D. I keep bringing her up because she's just an example of a very popular YouTuber influencer. But she has almost 500,000 followers, And she called him out during the OGL thing and said, "Look, this is not good." And you know what? I don't think she suffered at all. People were appreciative of her take and said, "You're right. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
We're going to cancel our relationship." And I don't think she suffered. And also, but she does other things too. That's her sucking up to WotC is not her whole way she lives.
Got the cosplaying thing and a lot of
she does everything. Which by the way, that's called diversifying, and you probably should do that instead of just getting up there and like, my whole purpose is going to be to review WotC product and see how great it is. Yeah, that's not a good.
You realize you're talking to somebody whose whole channel is about one setting in D&D, right?
You need to diversify, Joe. I'm just trying to tell you, you got to diversify, man. No, but seriously, so I don't have a lot of sympathy for these people, because if you're getting your water from one well and the well is bad water, that's whose fault is that? Go down the street, get the water from somebody else's well. I mean, come on.
Wizards of the Coast owes these, I'm going to use creators, because that's how they're referred to by Wizards. Wizards of the Coast owes them nothing. You can chill for them, and maybe you drove millions of dollars in sales for them. Maybe you did, and you know what they owe you? Jack and shit. Because
unless you have a contract with them, you're getting paid to do it. Because I know some video game influencers, that's what they do. They get paid. Now sometimes they don't get paid cash. Sometimes they get paid, and hey, we got this new version of Grand Theft Auto coming out. You're going to be the first one to see the playtest version. They'll do stuff like that, which is
I've gotten games. People
but like, other than that,
Kickstarters or something, they'll send me a game and I'll try it out, and if I like it, I'll do a video about it and I'll let people know. But that's But
you don't sit there and go, man, this game blows. Well, I got to make it look good for this. I mean, you don't do that, Joe.
No.
You shouldn't do that.
I've actually
done
what
you're doing.
Jason, I'm going to address your comment. There was no context released in these questions, so who knows who asked them or if they are even legitimate. I would say, what's it, Beth Rimmel? I've seen her on Facebook. I've seen her on M-World. I don't think that she would ruin her reputation as somebody who's pretty known in the industry to cover this stuff by putting up false questions and false answers. All right, so
I've seen too much I've seen too much stuff from people who were there also, and nobody has said, "Well, this is completely false."
Yeah,
this never
it's
happened.
all pretty consistent. The reports,
pretty much.
She's the one that actually put it together, so you could actually go and read not a transcript, because it isn't necessarily word for word, but a very good recap of these.
So Bad Mike, you have no sympathy for him in the situation shilling, but you have empathy for the situation. I have empathy for anybody that's treated badly online by people, but that's part of the business, right? I mean, Joe, do you get people that say your take on Greyhawk sucks and you suck? Of course you do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Eric, have you ever had somebody? Oh wait, yes, you have. Matter of fact, I think you had somebody trying to sue you.
Oh yeah. I mean, gee,
I like threaten your life or something.
Yeah, and guess what? Yes, I do have somebody who is suing me. And have I stopped producing a daily video? No. Now, but again, I know by putting myself out into the public that I do it willingly, and I know that, 95, 96, 97% of my feedback is positive. Do I know that there are going to be 1, 2, or 3% of my feedback that is extremely negative, go kill yourself type of stuff? Sure. Because there are, I won't say a word that would do more than get me demonetized. There are people that are pure pieces of shit in the world that hate everybody, especially people who put themselves up on the internet and talk about stuff that others are wary or afraid to talk about. It happens.
I feel empathy when you get people like that, Eric, and when Joe gets people like that. I get people sometimes too, but that's, like I said, it's part of the job. I mean, it's part of the whole thing of putting yourself out there. You're going to get people that are mean, that are dumb, that are idiots, that are just pure evil, and you either deal with it or you move to another profession, do something else. And if there's lots of things to do out there. There's lots of things you can do. I mean,
I've got somebody who dogs me all over Facebook, and every time somebody mentions my name, boom, he starts laying in about me, and I can't see it because I've blocked them a long time ago. But it's just whatever. Eric, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, believe me, we all get certain stalkers, okay, and that's literally there are online stalkers that that sometimes they fade away, and then they find a little meth or something like that, and they suddenly wake up and they come back at you out of the blue. But this is part and parcel with it. Somebody's like, well, I don't think the vast majority of them are shills. If you are an influencer and you are taking product to influence, you are shilling. Now, do I think Ginny D is a shill? She spoke out against WotC, right? She took a stand.
She gave Kyle a pretty rough interview.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah, no, she's been really good about it. She started the whole boycott.
Right. So I don't think, but is Ginny the average person? She has a successful channel, which she could afford to do that.
She's got 500,000 YouTube. She probably has God knows how many on Twitter. So she's doing just fine. She doesn't need their love and
the free box of the latest.
No, that's not a big deal. But I mean, I understand. I mean, if you're influencer, say you have 40,000 or 45,000, maybe you feel like you need that. Like, I've really got to be nice to WotC because I really do like getting all the new 5 ebooks as they come in, and I want to get this new stuff coming out next year. I will say that, and some people have mentioned this on the feed. I didn't really just see any shilling in the questions. I saw a lot of tough questions. They kind of sidestepped, like,
certainly. I think that these people are tired of being lied to, and that's the whole thing too.
I will take issue with you on one point. When that what was it? There was one point in the Q&A when who was it? It was the diversity, the DEI person.
The inclusivity.
Then the whole, from the reports I've seen, then everybody was just gushing about this. Oh, how can we? What are you doing more? Oh my God! It was the whole thing.
It was very much. Oh, thank God we have. Thank God everything's going to go through the cleansing light,
sensitivity readers, and
the inclusivity people. Oh God, that's just the world we live in now. Sadly, and they just
not my world. I do not live in that world.
Well, that's the great thing about being in the OSR. We don't have to worry about stuff like that. So.
Exactly.
But that's.
So I want to take it back to the actual stuff that they were talking about, and one of the things I noticed is that it's quite obvious they are not gamers. The people who are in charge over there, they don't play. I mean, obviously, they Chris Perkins, they've got people at that in those positions. But when you get people, throughout the corporate structure, they've never played this game. They're business people. They're coming from Microsoft. They're coming from Apple. Right. They're coming from that world. And it even the people that they had in this Q&A doing it. I couldn't believe I saw this. Is one of the things about the changes that they're making to the rules, and oh my God, I talk about the change, the vast changes they're making to the rules. But one of them said, also on the list are the musket and the pistol. They're already in the DM's guide. Yeah. Every classic D&D setting has at least pistols and muskets. The time reference for D&D is late medieval, early Renaissance. Now, I might be hyper focused on Greyhawk, but I can tell you for a fact, Greyhawk does not have pistols and muskets.
You're right.
Quasi-deity does. Merlin does. But it specifically said it doesn't work anywhere else on the planet. So right there, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
It wasn't in a player's handbook. The player's handbook didn't have a rule for blunderbuss. I mean,
they're talking about the 5e player's handbook. They're talking about the 5e.
Yeah, they don't go back. Then Joe's right. They're not going back farther than 20 years. I mean, let me make a little comparison here. So here's a comparison. So when we have said as gamers for a long time that one of the failures of original TSR was that you had gamers who were trying to be businessmen. They were not very good at it. Gary was not good at it. Let's just say, I mean, he wasn't a good businessman. If you've read John Peterson's book, you know all the gory details. Right. And so what we have here now, though, it's like we've taken total 180. So we had all these gamers trying to be businessmen, and not just Gary. A lot of these companies that sprung up started out with gamers that had a passion, and a lot of them weren't run very well because gamers aren't necessarily in the businessman Venn diagram, don't exactly mix, right? Well, now what we have is a lot of businessmen who are not gamers, and so we've gone the opposite, and it's just as bad, it turns out, because now, as much as I love capitalism, they're taking capitalism at all. That's the most important thing to them. The game is no longer important at all. So we have no in between. It's like we had at one point we had the gamers trying to run it, and they couldn't do it. Now we got the businessmen running it, and they're turning it into a shit fest because they don't know how to game. All they know is here's what I think we need to do to make money,
which is a fucking shame. And then but now let's be honest. It's been like that for a while, and Wizards of the Coast with 5e has tried something that they hadn't tried before, which was, you know what, we really don't need a staff to create shit. We'll hire outside teams to write our first adventure. You know, what the Tyranny of Dragons, that was an outside team, right? So they don't even now all of a sudden they're like, oh, we need to hire creatives. And by the way, they hired like 350 people to be like programmers for their D&D Beyond / VTT. But how many actual creatives is that? I guess we can't say creators because creators are their YouTubers. How many creatives have they really hired that were hired not because they could fill a role or fill a quota or check off a box, but because they have actual game design background to them? I don't see this. There are a lot of companies that publish really good games from Free League on down and up, and I don't see Wizards of the Coast poaching. I see Wizards of the Coast finding people in their DMs guild who fit the criteria, or whatever the criteria is. And by the way, folks, it apparently was also leaked that if you're a third-party publisher and you're following the rules as written on CR, by the way, that was a poison pill. They don't really fucking work the way you think they do because they didn't want it to work the way you think it do, because they didn't want third-party publishers to be able to create the balanced adventure, balanced encounters that 5e thrives on. So then why is it that third-party publishers create the superior material? And they don't even
look at the last year, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, Eric. I mean, the last 3 or 3 or 4 releases in WotC were abysmal sales, and yet you have just as one example, Alex Kamer and Ed Greenwood had a Red Wizards of Thay supplement that came out last year. Gee, guess what's selling gangbusters right now because they were featured in the movie? Their Red Wizards of Thay supplement, which WotC passed on and said, "Oh, yeah, whatever. We're going to do a Spelljammer instead." What? The fuck? I mean, so they have a bunch of stuff that fails
in a box,
right, as opposed to something written by recognizable names in the hobby. No, we don't want that. We want
Ed Greenwood. What's he ever done?
Yeah.
Red Wizards. Nobody's ever heard of him.
Let's put it out there. He's an old white guy, and that's why they don't want him or Jim Ward or any of them writing for them.
Right. Well,
that's what it comes down to.
Although if I was WotC, I'd sure want to have a Red Wizards of Thay book out there now. But no, Alex and Ed have it, so they're making the money. Good for them. That's something that maybe they should have thought of. Like, hey, I heard the Red Wizards are going to be in the next movie. Maybe we should do a book on that. No. We got a Spelljammer idea that's going to blow your socks off. It's going to be a Spelljammer game with no rules about space combat. Can you dig that?
Oh, wait. Can we go one further and not actually have any setting material? I mean, I literally want Spelljammer without the Spelljammer. I just want the word and a few of the.
And get this, we're going to have slave apes too. Isn't that awesome? We're going to have slave apes, and this is going to be a great. I mean, oh God!
And I think that also speaks to why Ed Greenwood's Red Wizards book didn't fly, is because it's all setting material. and they don't think setting material is valuable. They want mechanics. They want things that will appeal, because this goes back to the earliest days of the game, is that DMs buy most of the stuff, right? And most of the stuff is aimed at DMs, but there's 6 or 10 times as many players as there are DMs. So they're trying to find stuff that appeals to players. What appeals to players? Options, new classes, new new weapons, new feats, and all that good stuff. That's what they want in a book, because they want to sell it to players. If you have a book full of lore about the Red Wizards, DMs are going to buy that, and they'll sell a fifth by their calculation as many books.
Yeah, because they just kind of had a thing that came out that said, it turns out most of their stuff is being bought by DMs, and they said, whoa, we don't want it.
Exactly.
We want the players to buy stuff. DMs buying stuff's great, but that's how most campaigns go. I mean, I'm running now. I'm running Greg Gillespie's Dwarven Deep. Well, yeah, I mean, I bought the book because I don't want my players to buy the books. I mean, I'm buying most of the material as the DM. And I understand what they're saying is they want to appeal to players more, because look, we want the players' money too. But that's why you do stuff like you have kick-ass miniatures. Players love miniatures. They love dice. They love tchotchkes, like, dice rollers. I mean, all that kind of stuff. That's what you sell to players. You don't just create something that doesn't make any sense, like the Spelljammer rules, and hope that players are going to buy that shit.
But you see, here's the thing. The Spelljammer rules, as they see it, is crossover content. It's got DM stuff, and it's got player stuff, so it'll appeal to all. Well, you know what? It appeals to none, because you're not focusing. You're giving half shit, and it winds up being a full piece of shit. Okay,
that's amazing how that adds up,
isn't it? It's like they want to get rid of PFLs, but they give you half baked ideas anyway. Terry, want to support a great content creator? The book's by Greyhawk Grognard.
I've heard of that guy.
And beyond anything that Wizards of the Coast has put out for 5e.
By the way, Swords of Cthulhu. Swords of Cthulhu is a Three Castles Award nominee. So congratulations!
Yes, it is.
With that,
and it has just hit a gold seller on drive-thru.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. And again, equal time, Greg's Dwarven Deep is also on the list. And who else do we have listening tonight? I think that's everybody tonight. That's Greg's Dwarven Deep is also on there. And who else? I think that was it. I don't think we have. Oh, Bill Barsh, Bill and Ben Barsh's Dungeons Encounters, which I was actually just looking through.
Another was another Cthulhu.
So yeah, we have three Cast Award nominees hanging out tonight. So congratulations to all you guys. So
and maybe I'm actually going to be at North Texas.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. You're going to love it, Joe.
Be doing some drinking games at North Texas.
It is a 24-hour drive.
God bless you.
I'm getting a hotel at Louisville.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna make sure you're at the whiskey tasting.
Yes.
Kat, it'll be 90% AI generated content from them in 5 to 8 years. Just here's the thing.
Why not? Probably.
I've been playing with 2 different AIs, Google's AI and ChatGPT, and Google's is a little still flaky on stuff. It's all keeps going. I can't do that, but ChatGPT does a lot more. I've had to generate give me a short Dungeons and Dragons adventure for low-level characters that involves skeletons and goblins. And you know what? It writes something at least as good as I was writing in junior high school. Which is not saying it's good, but it's probably about as good as some of the low-end stuff being published.
And probably will get better as time goes on, right? I mean,
not if Alexander Yudkowsky has his way.
But
he's the guy who wants to ban AI research.
Yeah, well, listen, I actually said, hey, I need a short legal contract that will cover XYZ. Holy shit, in 5 seconds, I had a short legal contract that covered XYZ. You don't need a lawyer now for a lot of these small things.
Yeah, Ty, you're out of a job. Oh, he's not on tonight. But
it's early for him. He only comes on around like 9, 10, 9.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because he has to get out of his whiskey stupor.
Good Lord. That guy's lazy lawyer.
He spends all day not working. And then...
So I'd like to talk about one thing, too, that you guys were kind of talking about when I ran out of the room, but I wanted to talk about more, was the fact that they went to pains. So they had Kevin Crawford and Chris Perkins for Q&A, and they went to a lot of pains to basically say, look, this is not a new edition.
Oh,
not a new edition at all. This is, don't call it 6E, don't call it D&D 1.
Don't call 5.5.
Don't call it 5.5. Don't call it 5E. This is just the same stuff, but a little extra. What the fuck am I paying for then? If is what
you know what you're paying for? You know what they were crowing about? These amazing changes that are going to make this so compelling. Tridents do more damage than spears now.
If you're going to do a new edition, do a new edition. Don't fiddle around with
gelatinous cubes in the monster man. You're going to find gelatinous cubes under G rather than O.
Yeah, that's great.
Stuff they think people are just burning to have. It's insane.
That's not enough to get. If I'm a player, that is not enough to get me to buy a new rule book. I'm sorry. I want to see a substantial. And then the stuff they offer was, okay, well, every class now is going to have 4 subclasses, which means we had to take away from the priest and the mage or whatever. I'm like, what? Everybody, but these are everybody plays fighters, mages,
but
thieves
you
and priests.
You can still play the missing subclasses if you want to break out your 2014 books, but they'll likely not be supported by D&D Beyond. Mm-hmm. However, it's still compatible. So why remove it?
No, I think they did say it would be. I think they said all the old stuff would still be on Beyond.
Oh,
I think
right.
they did.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, but I mean, what? So is this something that was always in plan, or did they get blindsided by all the people that were mad that they weren't going to be backwards compatible? Because it sounds to me like they're saying it's going to be backwards compatible, but
they were at the very beginning when they first started talking about 1D&D. They were talking about it being backwards compatible. So that's been a design thing since they started talking about. But then don't forget, they also said the same thing about 5e. They said 5. Wait, I'm old enough to remember.
Me too. And it was the original designer who went on to form his own company, Monty Cook,
right?
Who promised. Go ahead, Joe. Because my favorite.
If you're playing 5th edition, you're going to be able to play a character from 1st edition or 2nd or 3rd or 4th, and they'll all work together perfectly.
At the same table in the same adventuring group.
Sure.
It'll be seamless. You can go back to OD&D and it'll all work. And he's promising this. I'm like, this is pretty. If you could pull it off.
You can play Homes Basic and 4E at the same table. Okay, I'm in.
If you could pull this off, holy shit, great. I'd love to see it.
He probably had some idea to do it, and the rest of the company just said stop.
Well, no, I think what I personally think is that he had some idea to do it, and then he realized as he got further along, wow, I bit off a bit much more. You know what? Fuck this. I don't need this headache. Let me form my own company. I've got ideas. Numenera, here I come.
I'm not gonna. Forget about what I just said. That's
there we go. Ty's on now.
Oh yeah, no. Ty. We were besmirching you, saying your job's being taken by a chat AI in a few years. So just to let you know, you better be ready for that.
Well, we're going to get IDMs apparently, and I thought that
was fun. But I thought that was funny because look here. I mean, I know this is weird, but I would have just said, look, we're going to do 6E or 5.5. Don't call it 5E. Yes, more. I don't know what they didn't have any idea what they're going to call it, but call it something 5.5, 6, just so we know when you're talking about a different game. I mean, they didn't when 2E came out, they didn't say this is just 1E with a few tweaks, whatever. No, just call it the new edition, and that way people know, okay, I'm playing this or I'm playing that, and they know where they're coming from. It's like they're being too backwards compatible. Like, oh no, we're not going to mess with this at all. Well, except for all these changes we're making, which, from what I know, I don't know 5E very well, but from what I understand, people reading the people's discussions, there were some pretty substantial changes in some of the character classes, some of the powers, some of the spells. Like I said, I don't play 5E. I don't know, but what I saw, it looked like there were some substantial changes.
Well, you still have to buy the new books, right? Because the new books are going to add new rules, which they will add to the SRD with compatible language. They're not going to give it to you with how the book presents it, but they are also saying that, yeah, you still need the new books. I mean, you can still use your old books with the new books, but you need the new books if you're going to play D&D Revised.
But it's funny, and some of the changes that they've talked about with the new books are just there's one that's absolutely absurd, and there's a couple that are just kind of expected. Okay, the absurd one is apparently somebody they said like they're looking at how to make their digital content in ASL, and I'm like, first of all, I'm wondering what does Advanced Squad Leader have to do with this, and then I realized we're talking about American Sign Language, but then I'm like, it's a PDF. What are you going to have little pictures of people doing sign language in the? What is this even?
If you can read American Sign Language, you can read a PDF.
Right? Yes, yes. Deaf, you're not blind. Exactly.
Now, if you were saying, and Mike probably knows the history. I was a couple of years ago. I was brainstorming with another that was associated with Frog Guy Games on how to get something like Continual Light put out in Braille or other certain ways to produce it for people who are visually impaired. Now, that's something that is interesting because right now we know a few people in the industry that are visually impaired and they use readers that take text, convert it to voice. But if you have things that are Braille, you're opening up to a whole different world.
Right.
I had a guest on Gamers Health last year who designs Braille dice that are.
There was a Kickstarter for Braille dice a few years ago. I backed it and it didn't hit its goal. But that is a great idea. That is a perfect way of opening things up to new people. But then, I mean, but they're also talking now. The new DM's guide is going to have stuff on Session 0. Shall we talk about Session? Because this is now going to be, not only is it going to be in the in Session 0, but it's also going to be in the player's handbook about making things, inclusive and stuff like that. Because
Session 0 is this,
and I quote. Wait, I got to quote.
We used to have our Session 0.
Wait, let me give you the quote. Because it's part of the game's culture going forward.
Oh, geez.
Well, but because in the past, I guess what we call a Session 0 was we would roll up characters for the campaign to begin next week or run a short adventure. And nowadays, Session 0 is going to be, okay, we're going to use trigger cards here, or whatever they call them, or
even more. It's going to be, well, do you want to play in a high fantasy or a low fantasy? Do you want your characters to be nobles, or do you want them to be this or that? It's getting input from, not just input, but influence from the players on the setting itself.
Well, thank you for your input. I'll come back to you in 6 to 8 months after I've worked out what you want me to come out with.
To me, it is anathema to do that. The whole dynamic of the game changes, and that's why I like the OSR. And if they're saying that this kind of Session 0 stuff, and I'm not even just talking about the inclusivity and the I don't want my character to die, I couldn't take it, or I'm going to groom myself at the table because I'm another species, or what, I'm otherkin or whatever. But when you're talking about the players having that level of agency and influence on the setting,
well, but Joe, I just
you're
say
not talking about D&D anymore.
But good for them. I mean, we don't. That's not OSR, and we don't. If they want to do that, fine. I don't play 5e. If 5e guys want to sit around for 5 hours on a Saturday talking about their campaign that the DM's going to have to run next week, yeah, more power to them. Go for it, because it's not an OSR. That's not an OSR thing. So if they want to do that, fine. But
I like 5e though. I've written 1,000 pages of 5e Greyhawk stuff. I've got a 5e version of Castleman Archmage. I like 5e, but what they're doing to it, they might say it's still the same edition. We're just incrementing it. It is going off in a very specific and particular direction that way.
But isn't the great thing about 5e is so 5e is the best-selling version of D&D ever published. It's the most popular. More people play it than any other version of D&D.
Why do you think I have a 5e Castleman Archmage?
Well, that's and then the great thing about it though is that's, and I keep thinking this probably influenced what happened this week at the conference, is that I think they finally realized that half the people that play 5e aren't going to move to a new edition. They're going to say this version works fine. I have a great time. I mean, we've got all the books already. What are you going to offer me in your next edition or version that's going to make me want to drop this game that I already love? It's the Pathfinder thing all over again. It's hey, we love 3.5. Why are we leaving 3.5? Well, just because we want to go to 4.0. Well, guess what? I'm gonna keep playing 3.5. Oh wait, Pathfinder over here. I'll play that. And then it's like they got really scared about that.
Black Flag.
Exactly. That was
that's what Black Flag is.
That's why the summit is here to mobilize the influencers. The summit was not for you, for me, for Joe, for any of our listeners. You don't mean shit. They are realizing to a large extent you control how people think when you control the people that tell them how to think. All right? When you can influence the influencers and get them on your side, they'll sell more books and it costs you next to nothing. But we'll give them a little free food, give them a room, make them feel special. And they were surprised that after getting bent over backwards with the OGL, that there's pushback from the people who were left. We want your opinion now. We want you feel part of our company now. But when it came to us fucking the industry over and we got bitch slapped for it, we didn't want you to have anything to do with this because that was us picking up the pieces and trying to make wine out of spoiled crushed grapes. They're really, really reaching. When did you ever see Wizards of the Coast fly? A bunch of jackasses. For the lack, if you're a personality on YouTube, to some extent you're a jackass. All right, that's how people watch you. You're entertaining. If you're a jackass, that they're flying out to Seattle, right? They're gonna wine and dine you. They're not doing it for your benefit. They're not doing it for the benefit of your listeners. They figure that they spend, I don't know, $1,500 on your 2-day trip. It's going to pay them back $100,000 in immediate sales because you are going to influence people to buy the new books. You are going to get such a positive feedback. And then all of a sudden, remember, apparently they were initially, hey, you come here. Yeah, you can video this. You could live stream it. They went, oh shit, no live stream, no video. We don't want to be caught in saying anything and have it on tape, right? And then the people they invited in at the end are like, hey, you want to come digitally because you're not important for us to actually wine and dine and maybe give like a little stroke job in the back room. We're just going to give you like a little, come on, feel important, man. But you know what? You can't take screenshots. You can't take screenshots of the conversation that's going on. You can't record the conversation that's going on. By the way,
well, people did.
I know. I'm about to say, people did.
Yeah.
But these were the requirements. Why? Because they wanted the plausible deniability of not getting caught in the Kyle Brink moment of, I can't wait till all white people get out of the industry, out of the hobby. They don't want to get caught in that shit. So it's like, no recordings, no screenshots. Just you can take notes.
Somewhere out there is a recording of the entire thing, and somebody has it.
Hey, there was one good thing that came out of it. I guess if you're a fan, that they did say they're bringing back Planescape. I don't know if they're going to desecrate fans.
They're going to do it like Spelljammer.
I hate Planescape. I'm sorry. I hate Planescape.
I know, but it's a fan favorite, Joe. Come on.
I know. I want the manual to Planes.
I'm not a big look. I never played Planescape either. I like Torment. Torment was a great video game, but yeah, that I never played Planescape.
Personal preference. I know a lot people love it. People love the cant and all that stuff. I was like, oh my god, no.
Well, they're going to be bringing it back. That's going to be their first, I think, publication with the new.
Now, they announced that that's the next big box set, like the Spelljammer thing. Yeah,
which absolutely means jack and shit because it's not going to be a setting. It's just, it's material that you can add to your setting, and But I'm getting worked up, and I actually haven't even read the actual quote that was forwarded to me, so I really should go back to here. So this is the one I referred to. This is the one I referred to before. The content creators were invited to the shindig, refused to be shills. They didn't let Wizards of the Coast show them any new stuff, and instead heavily criticized Wizards of the Coast business practices. WotC, via Jeremy Crawford, admitted that CR was literally made to be wrong in part to make it harder for non-WotC people to make balanced encounters, to discourage third-party illicit encounter building was the phrasing used. They promised to provide creators with updated tools, but still not the ones they use internally for people, internally for balance. That
I love the fact that they deliberately sabotaged people who are creating content for their game. I love that. But it also says this is an argument for why the OSR is great, because the OSR doesn't care about balance.
No, we don't. That was great. Yeah, because I remember the time.
One of the lessons is you need to learn when to run away.
Well, I remember Frog God. Being with Frog God, we would have issues talking about CR. You're like, oh, the CR doesn't make sense on this, which explains why. But one of our things is like, okay, well, so it's not balanced. Oh well. You just go with it then. Okay, well, sometimes part of D&D, and Joe and Eric know this, is knowing when to run away, right? Oh, you don't. I mean, so what? There's a CR6 guy in your first level. You run from the Minotaur. You don't try to fight the Minotaur. That's something you learn as a player playing, and that. And I guess they don't want that for 5th edition. They want everything to be so balanced that anything you face, you're going to be able to defeat.
That is exactly the philosophy. Yes, if you face it. If it shows up in the game, you should be able to defeat it.
So I have a thing. I have a thing when I run low level adventures. I always have when character first level, I always have an encounter with an ogre, because an ogre is usually beyond the ability of most characters to defeat at that level, and they can kill you with one blow. What I like to do is I like to see how every party reacts to the ogre. Do they want to bargain with it? Do they have a set a trap for it? I mean, you can kill an ogre, but you've got to think it out. Or you could just say, look, you know what? We can't defeat this monster. Let's bargain with it. Maybe he wants food. Maybe he wants gold or whatever. And the worst thing possible is the party says, okay, let's run into the cave and I'll kill it, because they'll get wiped out. They absolutely. And so I know, okay, I'm dealing with a party of idiots because these guys haven't figured out any other way to deal with this. They don't know.
I remember at Gen Con decades ago, Jim Ward was given a talk about DMing strategy. I'm in high school or college or whatever. I was there, and he told a story about this, about how he had a reputation for being kind of a soft DM, like he wouldn't kill players, and a new group came in and they were talking about that, and so his first encounter with them was an adult blue dragon, and it total party kill, first encounter right off the bat, just to prove that no, I'm not a pushover. And I thought that was, to this day, it is stuck with me. It is the greatest story ever. And I hope I'm right in remembering that it's Jim Ward.
Well, I always have a scenario where the first thing a party gets to do is, look, there's an ogre outside of town. He's in a cave. He's killing whatever. You guys need to stop him. And they're like, we're first level. Well, you have to deal with it. So how they deal with it is, is hopefully they set a trap for it. Maybe everybody gets missile weapons and they do something where they all get fire, 4 or 5 times, and they knock it down and they're able to kill it. Or they go find out, what does the ogre want? Why is he stealing the cow? So maybe there's a legitimate reason. Okay, there is, and they can deal with it. But obviously the worst thing to do is just run up and attack it. And that's something, but that teaches the players something, right? I mean, that teaches the players, like, look, every solution is not grab the biggest, hammer or broadsword or battle axe and attack the creature. Maybe there's another way around this, and we need to think about it a little while before we rush into certain doom. And I think that's one thing I don't like about CR. CR encourages, like, everything needs to be, well, let's equal everything out. I mean, only CR5s in this adventure, because we don't want anything but worse than that. And I just think that's wrong. I think it does not encourage thought from players, and that's something that's very important. And believe me, if a character thinks their way out of an encounter and they're low level with a vampire, they're proud of themselves. I think that's awesome. Like, hey, we didn't have to fight the vampire, man. We figured out a way to get around the vampire because it was going to kill you. I mean, you're third level. The vampire was going to kill you, but you figured out, hey, the vampire loves to play chess. Let's play chess with the vampire, and he won't eat it. He won't suck our levels dry. And that's just an absolute tenet of the OS. That's what I like about the OSR too. The OSR encourages that kind of thinking. Like, okay, I can't defeat this creature. How do I get around it? How do I get around the inevitable confrontation?
which is why you got XP for gold rather than killing monsters. Because the idea was if you can figure out how to get around the monster to get the treasure, that was the goal. And that was to be rewarded. And that was the point of that.
Holy crap. I am I need to stretch my neck out with all these comments I'm trying to catch up on.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being very very verbal tonight. We've got all kinds of I haven't even been able to keep up. I've been trying to keep up. There was a couple I wanted to respond to, and they disappeared so quick that I wasn't even able to bring your attention to it because we were talking so much.
And there's something else interesting I noticed that came out of this is that they're changing their web presence. They're getting rid of dnd.wizards.com. That's going away. I saw that too. Yeah, interesting. And it's all going to D&D Beyond. There's not going to be any D&D on the Wizards website. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be in D&D Beyond. And I think this is a strategy, a deliberate ruse on their part to get back those subscriptions. Because I think those subscription numbers are so important to the higher ups at Hasbro that they need to do anything they can to get those numbers back up, and that's why they're moving all the D&D stuff over to D&D Beyond.
What's interesting is this goes back, I think, right around to the OGL fiasco, but there was talk that there was a schism of sorts between the D&D Beyond programming group and their leadership and the VTT coming in, and that the VTT group coming in pretty much wanted to do away with D&D Beyond, or failing that, not integrate with D&D Beyond. And why? Is because everybody wants their own fiefdom. And once you integrate the two, there can be only one. There can only be one person in charge. Well, right now, from what we're looking at, it looks like there's going to be a great integration of D&D Beyond with the VTT, with the D&D Beyond marketplace, with, I would presume, the D&D bundle offer, right? Because they already said that they want to sell you the physical with the D&D Beyond material, and I'm sure that will include the VTT material. So you're going to be cutting out. I mentioned this before. Your friendly local game stores are going to take one hell of a hit if they're still relying on D&D as a major source of revenue. This is going to hurt. And the fact that you're encouraging people to play on a VTT means you're encouraging them not to play in a game store where they're going to spend money. You're encouraging them to play in the bedroom, in the living room, in the dining room, at the kitchen table, and there's convenience to it. Sure.
No, they're all going to be in the game store with their laptops, looking down at the screen around a table, just like in the video.
That was such a stupid video. Oh my God! Look what we get to play with. Oh my! It's like, yeah, you know what? Let's all get into a room together and watch porn, all on our own laptop. That sounds awesome.
I'm out.
It's gamer porn, Mike. It's gamer porn.
I don't want. Okay, but I said I don't want to watch porn with you and Joe right now. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Oh, I don't think you'd be into my porn.
At least
I have rarefied tastes. Yeah.
I'm out. Definitely out. Out. Oh, God. Unless they're dressed like cat women, I'm out. Oh, I didn't mean to say that out loud. I'm sorry. I've been drinking too much.
Okay, so here, Lensman says, if I recall correctly, Instructor Boy stated that yes, they can record. It was also in the original letter. I heard that it was in the original letter.
I saw that from Instructor Boy as well. Yeah, that is. I remember that too.
They asked that the footage not be aired at this time. Well, if you aired it, I guess you'd never be invited back.
Whoops. What does that mean? Morris is never going to be invited back because N-World had pretty good transcripts of all the stuff, but I don't think they're going to tell Morris not to come back.
No, transcripts are fine, but the actual video, so you can hear somebody say stupid shit, and then make it your ringtone. They don't want that. I mean, that's just.
But somebody brought up something here, and I thought this is interesting too, and I want you guys' opinion on this. And I don't know. So the fact that they were so light on details of VTT, does that tell us anything, or is that pretty much par for the course for a company that's going to open this up in a year's time, year and 5 months?
It's not going to be ready next year.
No, if they're in pre-alpha, there's no way it comes out anywhere earlier than 2025. Easy.
That's a problem then, I think, because that's a huge cornerstone or tentpole of their new edition is the fact that it's going to be run on VTT. I think that's a problem then. If they don't know
and it's not just a problem because you missed launch date. People have to wait for it. You're missing launch date, and people are going to go, but it's compatible with 5e, so I can play this on Roll20. I can play this on Foundry. I can play this on Fantasy Grounds because we all have official rule sets for 5e for now still up on these VTTs. And then they're going to have their campaigns established on these other VTTs. You need to do that transition right away. Now, the other option is they release a buggy piece of shit. Now, if I was taking bets, I would bet that Wizards of the Coast release a buggy piece of shit. Something that would be an early beta will be hey, we're releasing our VTT, and for the first 60 days, you can play for free. After that, $9.99 a month.
They might do it if they get if they feel pressure from Hasbro to roll it out. It's entirely possible that they would do a late beta and roll it out. But honestly, from a software lifecycle perspective, if they do that, it would kill them. I mean, it's one thing to go in with something that you've done system testing and user testing on, and okay, some bugs come up. It's a completely other thing if you've got software that has issues and you go live anyway. It's a catastrophe. And because remember, you only get that one. It's a cliche, but you get that one chance to make a first impression, and that will be the impression.
And Eric and I talk about this a lot. The whole mess up that happened with GleeMax and 4E, that was a horrible blow to 4E because they had counted on online gaming be a huge part of their presentation and how they presented 4E, and the fact that it never came off because designers, they had one of them killed the other one and then killed themselves. I mean, it was just horrible, and so they never recovered from that. And I would think that they've learned from that lesson, which obviously was 10 years ago, but they've learned from that we better have a working VTT in order that actually works, because we will get torn apart if this thing sucks. I mean, and then Peter Fan brought up the Cyberpunk video game. That was way over promised and totally underdelivered, because it was not what they presented. It was not a sandbox, and it was buggy as hell, and it was an absolute mess.
Anybody remember the World of Darkness?
Oh yes,
thing? Oh my god!
Yeah, oh yeah. And the thing is, I play video games. A lot of them are released now. And look, in years past, they would have never been released because what we're getting is considered a beta version. It's not the final version. And they spend the first year of when anything comes out. I play Fallout online, and the first year was terrible because they had to fix everything. But now it's pretty good. It's been 3 years. It runs fine. But that's the kind of the way games go now. They release them early, knowing they're not really going to work fully. And then they spend the next year patching it up, making it work okay. That's kind of the life cycle games now. I don't know if WotC can do that, if they can afford to do that. Oh, we're going to release it. Oh, it's all buggy as hell. They're going to get hammered if it's buggy as hell.
I don't know if that is I don't think that is the expectation anymore. 10 years ago, yes. But nowadays, the audience doesn't stand for it. You get
yeah, but I see it happen all the time, Joe. I'm just thinking again. I don't play a lot of video games. The games I play, like I said, Fallout 76 was a mess for the first year.
But
Madden's still a mess. Madden comes out every year, and the version that comes out, they still take some 2 months to get it to where it works. And they've been coming out 20 something years. They still can't get it right every year. But I don't play a lot of video games, so maybe I
haven't completed a computer game since TIE Fighter.
Wow.
Or no, Star Trek Borg. That was the last one I did.
All right. Well, here's
Terry DM. Okay, go. Yeah.
The last RPG game that I completed on PC or console was Buck Rogers on the Sega Genesis.
Okay, Grandpa.
That's embarrassing that it was, and it was a TSR property at the time. So it used like AD&D 2E rules basically.
Old man Grognard is not Glenn, it's you.
When I interviewed for a job at TSR, that's all they talked about was that fucking Buck Rogers thing.
Buck Rogers is so awesome.
That's all they talked about was fucking Buck Rogers.
Well, because
for the whole interview.
Because it was a double dip. Lorraine got paid because of the Dill Family Trust that was licensing it to her other company. So one company that
she was double dipping big time on that one. Yes.
Yeah. There's a way for me to make money on this. I gotta make
I'm trying to catch up on comments here. Good Lord, there's so many good questions here. Terry DM says, do you fellows think that WotC is working toward a fully online game with plans to make actual print books obsolete? I think it's heading that way, don't you guys? I mean, I
think that's the end goal, but they might not ever be able to do it without books entirely. But the books are going to be, they're already completely secondary. They want to sell PDFs because they don't cost them anything to actually.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's no inventory and shipping and all that.
Well, and then you could update them. You could update them any day you want. Oh, we decided this doesn't work. Okay, well, just update it on the site.
All right.
And then boom, you download the game.
No volume.
We hear you.
All right, there we go.
I hear you.
Michael's still frozen on my side with.
But I mean, you could update. Plus, you can update online stuff. You don't have to. Oh darn it, we put the Hadazee or Slaver apes. That's terrible. Well, you just go and it's gone.
We never did it. Prove it.
I don't think from
we had that. We never had it. What do you
mean? The update thing is so important. I think shipping and warehousing is much more important from Hasbro's point of view. If they don't have to ship containers of books from China, it's better for their bottom line. And I think that's why they're pushing to move not only to PDFs, but also to just this. The rules are in the VTT. That's what they want. Is because then D&D then becomes EverQuest, or what's the other popular one that everybody plays?
Warcraft.
Yeah, Warcraft. Thank you. If they want to turn it into that, and they're wondering why aren't we getting why don't we have 1 billion people playing our game like they do?
Well, because you don't have the listen, my son. When he was still living here and I used to do a lot of VTT gaming, he'd look over my shoulder and it was like Roll20. He's like, "What the hell is that?" I go, "We're playing RPGs, D&D." "Oh, that's not graphical." I'm like, "No, it's not meant to be graphical, dude. It's a map and tokens and occasionally 3D dice." He goes, and his generation, I understand it. So what they're doing is not aimed at our generation. It's not even aimed at those in their 40s. They're aiming at the 20-somethings.
My best friend in high school, George, we played D&D all the time, and he dropped out of it a long time ago. He's got a couple of kids in their early teens, tweens, and he had wanted to get them back into the game because we had been talking, and he came out and he got a monster manual and showed it to him, and then when he was finally ready to get his one kid to actually play, he gets out the books and they get to a table and his son's like, "Well, where's the computer?" He's like, "You don't play it on a computer. You play it here." And the son's like, "I don't want to." And he walked away.
Jeez. Come on,
just like
kid. That. There's no computer element here, kid. Sorry.
You lose, sir.
That kid, I'd have grounded that kid.
My kid's 21 and he plays it with the books. He doesn't. They don't play it online. They play it with the books because But the younger kids, they want the computer.
Well, if you look at their marketing, and I think they said this before, they're not marketing to anybody over the age of 35. I mean, their marketing is firmly in that age 14 to 35. I mean, that's what they care about. They don't. We're absolutely outside of any of their marketing. They give not one shit about what me, Eric, and Joe think. I mean, that's
we're like 3% of their audience. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're not under 35, they could care less what you think about gaming. You're not the future of gaming. You might be playing OSR games, which they don't care about, and see you later.
See, I'll be cryonically frozen, so in 300 years, I will come back and I will have my books, and I will introduce a new world to the OSR.
So talking about that appeal, for those who didn't notice or noticed, Kelsey Dion's Kickstarter finished with $1.3 million, which is pretty hefty amount. That's great. And I think it was really interesting because Shadow Dark is I guess for a better word, OSR version of 5e. It seemed to really hit a good nerve with people. Do you think this has any effect on the future of gaming? I mean, do you think more people will say, hey, maybe there is some money in appealing to these old farts that might want to do things a different way? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see what the future holds this year.
I don't know. I mean, we've had 5 Torches Deep for for a few years now, and that is, to my mind, a great fusion of OSR and 5e, and it hasn't really taken off,
right,
in the $1 million range. So right. I'm not sure if it's the concept or just it was really well presented and really well marketed
and well timed.
And well done, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It hit right at that moment.
Well, yeah, because people they wanted to play 5e, they just don't want to play WotC 5e. And right. So, hey, here's a version of 5e that somebody else came up with. Oh, we like that. That's awesome.
Which is why Black Flag, got so much buzz early.
Well, hopefully, I think Black Flag. I mean, Wolfgang's a pretty good designer, and if Black Flag hits all the high spots, I think it should do really well also. Especially if it's just going to be 5e revisited with some cool Wolfgang type quirks in there. It should do really well too. I mean, it just, like you said, a lot of it's just timing. But I do appreciate the 5e designer that brings in the old school type stuff, because I know from running the convention around North Texas, we get people in there all the time that come, because we have a lot of tons and tons of 5e games there. And they want to play 5e, but they also want to play 1e. They want to try different things, because a lot of them realize that 5e is the game on easy setting in some ways. And if you play some of the older versions, death is more liable to happen. There's less, you don't have healing surges or healing rests and stuff like that. So they like to play the different kinds of versions of the game, because it's like playing a game on easy, medium, or high. Right. That's what a guy actually told me that once. A kid told me. I asked him when he was there at the convention for. He goes, "Oh, I'm in this game 5e, but I'm in this game 1e." I said, "Why are you playing 1e?" He goes, "Well, I want to try the game on hard setting," because that's what he considered hard setting, was playing the game 1e instead of 5e.
Interesting. Have we worn ourselves out on this one? We always seem to be taking them.
I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, have I missed anything yet? Gelatinous Cube, wow. BTT, Half Elf is racist.
Half Elf. Well, they're supposed to have another one of these summits at Gen Con now. That's what they're talking about, and that should be more interesting, because I think that's going to be not the same people, from what I understand. So I don't know if they're going to lean more towards actual creatives that actually have created content, or, I mean, I don't know. I just heard there is going to be another D&D creator summit right around Gen Con. Maybe
they should have an Elrond cosplay flash mob.
Oh shit. Well, there's going to be a lot of WotC people as special guests at Game Hall. So
yes, well, that was one of the things they brought up. Okay, so I'm going to give this another point in their favor, although I think they were forced into it. And Eric and I have talked about this a lot on the show too. There has been zero WotC presence in anything for the past 5 or 6 years. Gen Con and any of the small cons, they don't care. That they just didn't care. At least now they're like, oh, maybe we should go to conventions and talk to people about, I don't know, about our game that we have, and let them meet creators, because it does help to talk to creators when you go to these conventions,
right?
And you see people. I mean, I know personally, I like to talk to these people, and I like to see what they say about stuff. And sometimes you meet these people, and your opinion turns around on them 180. You think this guy's an idiot, and you meet him like, oh, that guy wasn't too bad. That's what I thought about Ty the first time I met him. I thought he was. No, I'm just kidding. Love you. I love you, Ty. No, but seriously, it does help to get out there and to actually meet your fans and talk to people. And I just can't believe they gave that up for so many years. Just like, we don't need to go to Gen Con. Everybody plays 5e. Who cares? It does help you. It really does help.
We're getting people getting antsy in the chat as I'm catching up to it. It's like, folks, it's a live chat. This is. Just because we're like, shadow boxing WotC doesn't mean you got to shadow box each other.
Oh, so let me bring up one more thing, since all three of us are here, and we've all three seen the movie now. I saw the movie Sunday night.
Okay.
The D&D movie, and I know, Eric, you liked it, and Joe, you liked it, and I want to say that I liked it also, because I approached it as, this is just, I don't have any rule books on my lap. I'm not counting segments. I'm not saying that spell doesn't belong, that character can't do that. I'm just going to watch it as a fantasy movie that happens to have D&D tropes, and I'm going to say I didn't mind it at all. I didn't find objection. I didn't find objection at all.
It was fun. The stuff that the writers had said about emasculating male character, I didn't see any of it.
What the hell would they? Why did they even fucking say that?
It was complete. They self-sabotaged themselves on that. I mean,
idiot.
Plus, it wasn't reflected in the movie. It was.
Right. They cost them 5 to 10% of their audience just by blabbering that garbage, and so I guess they felt that was worth it.
I loved it. I had a lot of fun. It was fun. That was all it needed to be. It was fun. And they had some emotional beats. They had good action. I saw people complaining about some of the CGI. I thought the CGI was fine.
I didn't think I'd have a problem with that. I thought everything. So I'm sitting there. This is how shell-shocked I am now.
Keeps on messing up. But this is what happens when you say, yes, upgrade me. Apparently they do it on a Wednesday night at like 9:30.
Oh, there you go.
This is
Fios telling me they're finally updating the connection. This is what, when you go from 100 megs to 1 gig connection, apparently they decide to fuck with you as it goes on to random time at night. I guess they figured nobody's using the internet at night. Greg, listen, I know you haven't seen the movie. So
Greg has not seen the movie, but he still hates it. We had an hour-long discussion about it the other night.
The movie is look, Greg Gillespie. They're there. I've said it. So let it be said. Let it be done. So Greg, the movie is woke and dreadful.
I'm sitting there. Look, I am so shell-shocked now by Hollywood that I'm sitting there the whole movie waiting to be offended, because I know at some point it's going to come. At some point it's going to come.
I didn't want to like this movie. I went into this movie not wanting to like it.
It just didn't happen. It didn't.
And it won me over. I thought it's a fun movie to watch. That's all it is.
I would take my grandkids to see it. My grandkids would love this movie. I would take them to see it. There was no sex, which was big with my wife. Boy, she hates sex scenes in any movie for kids. No sex scenes. I don't know if there was a kiss. Was there even a kiss in the movie? There was the only curse words were, I think somebody said shit or something. I mean, it was
barely perceptible.
It was non-offensive. The male characters were fine. I mean, the paladin was a badass. I mean, he did, he kicked ass. The Chris Pine's character was a thinker. He came up with some great plans that worked. He's not a fighter. He was not a fighter character. He never fought, yes. But he was a thinker, and he was the charismatic moral center of the movie. And that, hey, I'm trying to bring my wife back. I want to provide for my daughter. And I thought that was, that wasn't him just being a horn dog or a weirdo.
And it wasn't as much of a comedy as I was expecting from the trailers.
Right.
No, the humor was
natural.
Moments. The humor worked out of the. I mean, there was some funny, like when the intellect devourer walks past them all, and because the paladin says, "Oh, they're attracted to great intelligence," and it walks past them, and that's funny, because that's kind of a D&D type joke, but it's also if you don't play D&D, you get it too, right? I mean, because obviously nobody there was great intellect, but I mean, look, I didn't find anything objectionable about it, and it could have been really bad. It could have been Rings of Power bad, which was. Ouch! That's the ultimate bad. It could have been Rings of Power bad. It was not Rings of Power bad.
It's funny you mentioned Rings of Power because my wife and I've never seen Downton Abbey before, and my wife and I are watching it, and we're into the part where the guy who played Elrond in Rings of Power is in Downton Abbey, and I can't not see Elrond. It's like, why? Come on. You'll live forever. Marry him. Go on. Oh my God.
But I mean, Rings of Power, all it did was crap all over Tolkien and his legacy, and that was the whole point of it. And I didn't think this crapped all over D&D's legacy, which is a mixed legacy anyway. So I mean, it did about, and I heard some people go, the movie should have been real serious. No, it shouldn't. D&D is not serious. D&D is fart jokes and dick jokes. It's the mage casts a fireball in a 10x10 room because he loves fireball, and everybody's screaming, "Don't cast fireball." I mean, D&D is funny. When we play D&D, we're laughing the whole time we're playing. It's not a serious game. It didn't deserve a really serious movie. I thought they did about as good. Now, there was some stuff I thought was terrible. I thought the halflings were terrible. That was just...
Yeah, they didn't look right because...
No, it was awful.
They were too... Oh. But those are 5e halflings. 5e halflings are not... halflings from the Peter Jackson movies.
I mean, that was terrible. That there were some things I didn't like in it, but all in all, I just didn't. I guess it boils down to I thought it was going to be really bad, and it wasn't. So I was happily pleased. Yeah. But it wasn't just this horrible, objectionable thing.
Absolutely, I enjoyed it. I had fun. I'll watch it again when it comes on to Paramount.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is, look, if they wanted to do, I mean, from what I saw, the movie did okay. It wasn't an absolute blockbuster smash hit. It probably is going to make enough money to where they'll have a sequel. I mean, it would have to be
depends
really
on how it does in China. It hasn't opened in China yet, and that's going to be the big thing.
Well, and they don't like magic. They don't like anything with magic in it. I know that China's.
No, fantasy movies do really well in China.
Oh, they do. I thought they didn't like magic, or they didn't allow sorcery or spells.
No. It's. There's something about it, but they have all those kung fu wuxia movies that have all kinds of magic.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
So, it will all depend, and as far as I know, it will be opening there in a couple of weeks. So that could just put.
The paradigm has changed for movies though too, because now movies make a ton of their money back streaming. I mean, that's their big thing is how is it going to do on Netflix or Prime, whatever there. So I mean, it's totally changed. Everything used to be opening week. If you didn't break your nut on opening week, you were screwed. And nowadays it's not like that because people look. We went to the theater. The last 4 or 5 movies my wife has seen, there's been 5 people in the theater. There's just not a lot of people going out to see movies nowadays, no matter what it is. And so, the paradigm's changed on that. But we'll see. It's going to make money over time, so we'll see. But I mean, it did okay.
And remember, they had two different far advanced screenings. They had the one for Amazon Prime people,
right?
And then they had another one the week after, and then it opened. I'm not sure how they're calculating all those both of those preview weekends because I saw it on the very first Amazon Prime thing. The theater was packed.
Yes, I saw it too. But I mean that was a pretty actually that was a pretty good marketing tool they did. I was surprised they're that smart to do that, but that was actually a very good marketing to have the previews like that
because they wanted to generate good word of mouth. Yeah. Because I think they saw it. I think the Suits saw it. They said, "Oh, this is a really good movie. We have to get over the stench of the first 3 D&D movies."
Because Joe, what you don't do when you have a shitty movie is do previews. You don't do any previews. You don't let anybody see it.
You embargo reviews till the day before it opens. Yeah, yes, exactly. They didn't do any of that.
No, so they knew that it was probably going to hit okay with people. And look, a lot of people that said they were never going to see the movie because and a lot of I avoided opening weekend because I still am mad at WotC and their whole old GL stuff. But I had to see it because everybody else I knew had seen it, so I didn't want to be the one guy that didn't. And I wasn't offended. All I can say is I know it'd be greater. We'd have a better show if I was offended by it and I could scream about it, but I just, didn't have a problem with it.
I like I say, it was a ton of fun. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, Zach said better than Star Wars and Marvel recent. But yeah, the last few Marvel movies have been awful. I haven't even look. I'm an MCU guy, big time. I have missed about half the MCU movies because I have no interest in seeing the stuff they're throwing out there.
The last one I really loved was what was it? The Spider-Man, No Way Home,
which was a great movie. That was a really good movie. Yes.
I didn't hate Ant-Man Quantumania. I didn't love it. It was kind of in the middle. I loved the second Black Panther movie. I thought Namor was so good. He brought that whole movie up. I thought it was better than the first one.
But it doesn't have the real Black Panther in it. I don't care.
For me, it's a Namor movie, and it's a great Namor movie.
I think they were I think they were stuck with that one because obviously they wanted a sequel with the original actor, and of course, if he dies, there's nothing they can do about it. But yeah, I
made a good choice not recasting it.
I had no interest in that at all after he died.
But whoever they had his name, he nailed Namor. It was sublime to watch.
No,
it says 5 million opening weekend sales in China.
Is that good or bad? That might be bad. It sounds bad to me.
That's bad. That's weak.
Yeah. I still think they have a sequel because this has generated enough interest among their niche audience that I think this generates a sequel.
Yeah, I think the OGL fiasco cost them.
Yeah, definitely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they also reacted that too. And look, I don't know why they changed their minds in the OGL. I suspect it was the massive outcry from pretty much every human that wasn't an absolute 100% shill that this is bullshit. But maybe that means they might listen to people more often. I mean, I don't know. I do appreciate the response because the response could have been, "F you, we're still going to go ahead with this," And look, I had an argument with Mark Greenberg today because I still think the OGL's canceled. And I know Eric feels the same way.
Oh, give it a year. Yeah, it'll happen. That's why I'm all my books. I'm moving away from the OGL. It's just.
I think everybody will go, and I think that's the point. Is that when everybody moves away the OGL, then nobody's going to care when it gets canceled. And I think if you want to, I think that's what everybody's going to eventually do is move away from the OGL, and they're not. They're not.
At this point, I am immune to the OGL at this point. Oh, we lost Eric.
Whoa, we lost Eric. Was having some problems there. So this is the Joe and Mike show now. So Eric was totally blocked out. But no, yeah, I think that's what's going to lead them to cancel the OGL is that once nobody has anything vested interest in it, nobody is really going to care when they say, by the way, because they have said over and over and over again, well, why do you need the OGL? You have Creative Commons. And they've said that so much, it's made me think that this means that they don't really, because look, they could tell you yes or no, are you going to continue the OGL? And they've really kind of, you don't need the OGL anymore. You have Creative Commons. That tells me that no, that they don't want to continue with the OGL.
And honestly, from my perspective, they're right. I don't need the OGL right now. I'm systematically removing the OGL from my books, and I'm putting back in Mind Flayers, and I don't care.
Well, I mean, and why would you be? And why wouldn't you? Because who wants to be vulnerable like that, right? Nobody wants to be that vulnerable that something they can turn off or turn on whenever they want to. And so I think that's part of the strategy, though. If they want you to see that, and now you're not going to feel bad about moving away from the OGL, so that's just something they can brush off the map and get rid of now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric just emailed me his internet dropped. So, like I said, this
does that mean we're like trapped here? We can't
ever know. We can't log off anything. Well, let me ask you, just as I got you here, when is your new book coming out? And talk to us a little bit about your new book.
Okay, so Swords of Wuxia. Wait a minute.
I knew he had something here.
So the new book is Swords of Wuxia. This is a redo of my Golden Scroll of Justice book, although if you can tell, it's like a third thicker. Basically, this is what I did after I'm removing the OGL. But in the process, I put in a whole bunch of new material. Everything is now 1E/generic OSR rather than Adventures Dark and Deep. So this is going to be much more open to other games, like, so if you're playing Osric or Swords of Wizardry, Labyrinth Lore, whatever, this will be a little bit easier for you to use. It includes a whole bunch of new material. It's got encounter tables for all the Oriental, Chinese monsters that are in there, mixed in with the appropriate classic monsters. So it's really got a monk subclass now, the Weapon Master. But I don't want to just yank the OGL and just throw the book back up. I always like to add new stuff. I don't want to come out with a second printing and just and just throw it out there.
Sure, and like you said, it's smart to switch everything to Creative Commons now, because there's no point in keeping.
I didn't put the Creative Commons in this.
Oh, you didn't? I thought that was going to be under Creative Commons. Oh,
no. I'm not using a license. I'm just using fair use, and there we go. Once the Orc license comes out, I might rejigger it, and if they ever release the 1E SRD under Creative Commons, I'll probably put that in. And if I get any flack from them, I'll put in the current Creative Commons thing. But from a legal standpoint, it's me and my lawyer's opinion that I don't need to do it. Fair use covers what I'm doing, because I don't restate anything from the original game. This is all additional new material.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's the plan. But yeah, this Swords of Wuxia is basically my companion book to Oriental Adventures, the original one. This is all based on China. So it's got Kung Fu, and it's got new classes, races, spells, magic, the whole point, the whole bit. It's got rules on how to do an Imperial China setting. It's got all kinds of stuff. Because I always thought that the original Oriental Adventures book was too Japan focused. So that this is my reaction to it.
So when do we get a Kickstarter or
no Kickstarter? This is going to be coming out. It's just going to be a straight release, because I don't like to go to Kickstarter if I don't need to. And I was able to reuse some of the art. I paid for a bunch of new art too, and I was I have enough in the kitty to pay for the editor. So I'm just waiting on a revised. There's a little bit of an issue with the title here. That's kind of a little hard to read. The thing. So I'm waiting on a revised copy to come in for my approval, and once that happens, it could be as soon as middle of this month. I'm hoping to have them for North Texas.
Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, definitely. That would be
I am going to push to get it for North Texas if I can.
Well, the great thing about North Texas is it's a lot of OSR people, and our vendors all do really, really well. So if you bring it there, I think you would sell quite a few copies. So
no offense, but I would not be driving 24 hours if I didn't think so.
There you go. Folks, I apologize over my technical.
Oh wait, Eric's back. Oh, hello,
back
Eric.
a little bit.
Comes to the machine.
Long story short, I the other day I went into the Files website. Went, oh look, I'm eligible for an upgrade to my internet, and it's going to cost me less than I'm paying now. Well, only an idiot would say no. So I said,
fell for it. You fell for it.
So apparently tonight they're doing something with my internet to update the speeds. So I am right now working off my phone's hotspot. So I was like, God damn son of a, because it was dropping me constantly in the last half an hour. And I'd be like, fuck, it happens once, shame on me. It happens twice, fuck WotC. Happens the third time, it's fucking Files. So and then I got the email. Oh, thank you for upgrading your equipment. I'm like, I didn't get any upgraded equipment. I just upgraded my service, you bastards. So, well, this was fun anyway. Joe, thank you for being available on short notice.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Mike, thank you for being available every Wednesday.
Of course. What else I got to do? Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing.
One of the comments earlier was like, "Well, they could do this week in Wizards of the Coast Stupid could be a daily show."
Practically at this point, it's gotten that bad. Yikes!
I don't know if my poor heart could handle this doing as a daily show, but listen, you get daily videos here anyway. So I hope I know
Before
everybody
we go,
subscribed.
Can I plug my channel?
Plug it.
I am this close from 4,000 subs.
Holy shit!
I'm 10 away from 4,000 subs.
Jeez.
So I'm gonna put my channel. I just put it in the chat. I need 10 more subscribers. Please put me over the top.
You got to put it in a private chat because it won't go up in the regular chat.
Oh, so okay.
Put it in the private, then I got to put it up. Oh, no links because that's how all the porn bots come in and they spam you with porn bots, and so.
And I have a couple of North Texas announcements real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Our official sign-up date is April 15th, 10 days from now. Not this Saturday, next Saturday. I think it's going to be in the afternoon also. And so all the games, every game, we only sell half the tickets beforehand, and the half are available during the scrum of open sign-up. So if you look at the games and go, man, the games are all filled up. No, they're not. Half the seats are still available. So if you still want to go, pop in April 15th. I understand we will have shirts available until then because I know Gary shut off shirt sales March 31st, but we will have them April 15th. So if you sign up for April 15th or before that, you should be able to get a shirt. And we are working on our last surprise special guest, who is Mr. Errol Otis, and we are hopeful he will attend. But that was one of the guys we were kind of waiting on to see how that would work out. So, but yes, we've got a great,
because I got some stuff of his I want to.
No kidding, man. He comes. He used to come every year, but we haven't seen him in 5 years. He didn't come during the pandemic. Couldn't make it last year, so unfortunately, we haven't seen him in a while. But he's a great dude. But we will have a plethora of special guests this year. Some great people, and we're excited about it. Looks like we're going to sell out. We did sell all the hotel rooms and the Marriott.
Yep.
So if you come, you either have to get in the Westin, you have to get a room in the Marriott about a mile away. We do have a shuttle service, or there are 4 hotels within walking distance.
Or folks, the Westin might have full price rooms available, which is
they do. Yeah. They're expensive, but you can get a full price room. It's pricey. It runs I think they run about $170 a night. Yeah, and our discount is down to, I think, about $110, something like that. So, yeah. Right. But, yeah, we have a lot of people every year that stay at the Quality Inn, walk across the parking lot. They stay at the Red Roof Inn, walk across the street. It's not, it's actually about half price if you stay at one of those places. And there are so many gamers. If you come without a car, there are so many gamers there that live in the area that you will have no problem getting out to eat, going to barbecue. I know Greg and a bunch of guys like to go out to barbecue the first night there and have a great, have a bunch of Texas meat. Just load up on meat spreads.
I will need a ride to Texas meat.
There you go. I mean, yeah, because if you're going to be in Texas, you got to eat Texas barbecue. Come on.
At least once during a trip. By the way, Mike. God damn it! Question, Don, where's the tower? Oh, there's still vending.
I do believe, Don, that all the vendor spots are gone. The best way to find out is to get on Facebook and ask Gary Oliver, and who is on the North Texas RPG Con website. But I do believe our vendor slots are full, from what I understand. By the way, we will sell out this year. If you're thinking about going, you might want to get your ticket, because if we will do walk-ups. But if we don't have any room in games, we won't sell tickets. We won't do that to you. We're not going to let you buy a ticket and have no games to get into. So we've had more people sign up this year than any other year we've ever had. So it's a pretty good chance we're going to sell out. We only have 500 people. So to keep that nice little intimate con feeling, only 500 people.
Leave my Michael alone. You can't touch him.
I make whiskey deliveries. What? Oh, that's true. By the way, Eric, we got to work out with Chris, our whiskey tasting. We have not done
yeah.
any work towards that this year. We got to
No,
get that.
We got to do that. We shall do that. All right. So before because hopefully my phone's charged up. But in any case, folks, I thank everybody in the live stream. You guys were awesome.
Yes.
Well done. So active. I was constantly trying to keep up. So if I was quiet, it's okay. We had Joe and Mike. You didn't.
Yes.
Next live stream is on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We have Alex Zachris as a special guest with Glenn and I. Should be a lot of fun. Rachel and I, Gamers Health on Saturday. We're still working out the details, and we're going to do the heart health special. We got a lot of people to bring in as special guests. We might do it as an ongoing series. Honestly, so many people in our hobby, in our community, have heart issues of one type or another, and to get different perspectives on what's going on and to realize you're not alone is important. Because believe me, you go through this shit for the first time, you think nobody else has gone through this shit. Guess what? A lot of people are going through this shit. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back again tomorrow with some random shite, probably dealing with WotC at this point. Who the fuck knows? And I'll catch you all later. God bless.
Later. Love you.